The Magic Recipe of the Bakery. Chapter 1. The New Bakery. One day, a new bakery opened in a small town. It was called the Magic Bakery. The signboard depicted colorful bread, catching the eyes of passers-by. Flowers lined the outside of the shop, creating an atmosphere that seemed straight out of a fairy tale. The owner of this bakery was a kind, smiling old man named Mr. Baker. He looked forward to providing the townspeople with delicious bread. He had a special recipe, and all the bread he baked with it was known for being fluffy and delicious. The town's children were very curious about the new bakery, especially a girl named Emily. She was eager to visit the bakery because she was interested in bread making and wanted to learn how Mr. Baker made such delicious bread. On the first day of the bakery's opening, Emily visited the shop. Inside, the sweet aroma of bread filled the air, tickling Emily's nose. Mr. Baker, wearing an apron, greeted her with a smile. "Hello, Emily." "Welcome," said Mr. Baker. "Hello, Mr. Baker. This is such a wonderful bakery. How do you make such delicious-looking bread?" Emily asked. Mr. Baker smiled warmly and said, "It's because of a special recipe. But that recipe is a secret." Emily's curiosity grew even more. "Can you teach me that secret?" Mr. Baker thought for a moment and then said, "All right. I'll teach you, but can you keep a secret?" Emily nodded vigorously. "Yes, I promise." And so, Emily began learning the special recipe from Mr. Baker. She eagerly visited the bakery every day, looking forward to baking bread with him. Chapter 2. The Magic Ingredients. One morning, when Emily arrived at the bakery, Mr. Baker was busy with something. Seeing her, he called out, "Good morning, Emily. Today, we're going to find some special ingredients. Would you like to come along?" Emily's eyes sparkled. "Of course," she replied. They left the bakery and headed to the forest at the edge of town. The forest was cool, with beautiful sunlight filtering through the trees. Mr. Baker showed Emily where to find special herbs and berries. "This mint is very fresh and fragrant. If you add a little to the bread, it gives a refreshing flavor," Mr. Baker explained. Emily carefully picked the mint leaves and put them in a basket. As they ventured further into the forest, they found a bush full of berries. "These berries are sweet and tart, perfect for filling the bread," Mr. Baker said, as he and Emily picked the berries together. The time spent in the forest was refreshing and fun for Emily. The knowledge of plants and herbs that Mr. Baker shared with her was like treasure. They laughed and sometimes sang while enjoying their time together. Back home, Emily and Mr. Baker began preparing to make special bread using the ingredients they had gathered. Emily's heart was excited as she looked forward to trying a new recipe that included the refreshing scent of mint and the sweet and tart taste of the berries. Chapter 3. The Secret Recipe Book. One day, when Emily arrived at the bakery, Mr. Baker was holding an old book. "Emily, this is my secret recipe book. It's filled with special recipes I've collected over the years," he said. Emily looked at the book in awe. "Wow, That's amazing. What kind of recipes are written in it? She asked eagerly. Mr. Baker smiled warmly. This book contains everything from regular bread to special magical bread. Today, I'll teach you one of these special recipes. Excited, Emily opened the book and followed Mr. Baker's instructions. Today's recipe was for star bread, star-shaped bread that sparkled when baked. First, we'll make the dough, Mr. Baker said. Emily measured the flour, added water, and began kneading the dough. Meanwhile, Mr. Baker prepared a special spice. This spice will make the star bread sparkle, Mr. Baker explained. Emily mixed the spice into the dough. After shaping the dough into stars, they placed it in the oven to bake. Soon, a wonderful aroma filled the air. It's ready, Mr. Baker said. Emily opened the oven and saw the sparkling star bread, her eyes shining with delight. It really sparkles, Emily exclaimed, amazed. Mr. Baker smiled. Yes, that's the power of magic. You should remember this recipe and make bread that brings happiness to many people. Inspired by his words, Emily decided to make even more magical bread. Chapter 4: The Adventure of Bread Making. Emily became fascinated by the joy of bread making and the magic recipes. She visited the bakery every day, eager to try new recipes with Mr. Baker. One day, Mr. Baker proposed a new challenge. Emily, today is the day you make bread on your own, he said. Emily was surprised but quickly felt determined. Okay, I'll do my best. Mr. Baker handed her the necessary ingredients and tools, watching over her as she worked. Emily began by kneading the dough, following Mr. Baker's teachings, kneading it thoroughly and shaping it perfectly. Next, Emily prepared a special filling. She mixed berries and herbs, adding the special spice. She filled the dough with the mixture and shaped it again. As she put the bread in the oven, Emily felt a bit nervous. I hope it bakes well, she worried. Mr. Baker gave her an encouraging smile. Don't worry, you can do it, he reassured her. After a while, a wonderful aroma wafted from the oven. Emily opened it and took out the bread she had made. It was beautifully baked and sparkling. Emily was moved. I did it. I succeeded, she rejoiced. Mr. Baker praised her. Well done, Emily. You're now a fine baker. Keep making bread that brings happiness to many people, he said. Emily stood proudly at his words, determined to make even more bread. Chapter 5: Everyone's Happiness. Emily's bread became very popular among the townspeople. Her bread brought smiles and happiness to everyone who ate it. One day, Emily expressed her gratitude to Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker, thank you so much for teaching me how to make bread. I'm so happy that my bread brings joy to so many people, she said. Mr. Baker smiled warmly. Emily, it's thanks to your hard work and passion. The magic you have is within your heart. Keep using that magic to make many people happy, he said. Emily was deeply moved by his words and vowed to continue baking with all her heart. Every day, she tried new recipes to bring smiles to the townspeople. Thus, Emily's bakery flourished more and more, becoming a beloved place in the town. Emily poured her passion into bread making, knowing that her bread brought happiness to others. And so, the magic recipe of the bakery continued to bring happiness to the townspeople through the efforts and love of Emily and Mr. Baker.